Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is, I believe today is Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday, October 16th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this was a great rally. It's all uphill. We had a two-tiered channel here. We had a break, and we moved to a new high, and really rather than correcting, we went sideways a little bit, but rather than really having a correction or a long period, we just kind of went to a little bit flatter two-tiered channel and continued to work higher. And that's not totally untypical when you get a really strong trend. If it's a little bit too steep early on, it will flatten out some, and that's all we did here. And we just went to a flatter, the darker two-tiered channel. Lots of trades in here today. Um, I talked about a couple of days ago when the market really sells off that's a great buying opportunity, not necessarily as a day trader, but for a more longer term trade, because when it comes back, this is what happens. You get these huge rallies. And we rallied from, say, 27.45, maybe 46, 7 in there somewhere. We rallied all the way to close the day, almost basically closed on its high at 28.16. So, I mean, that's a huge move. I mean, that's an 80, 70, 80 point move there. And just for a single contract, that would be a great day. Uh, be a nice payday for even a single contract. So just remember that that might be when the market sells off hard and you get a big sell off. Um, you might even think about buying an option or something. Just don't buy these long term, way out of the money options, because you're just going to lose money there. You don't want to pay for a lot of time. You just want to get something that doesn't have a whole lot of time left on it, but has enough time to come back, 30, 60 days maybe, and a couple of strike prices out, not too far out of the money. And you can make some big money on an option like that. Because once it gets in the money, it almost moves, dollar for dollar, or with the regular market. So it doesn't take long to get in the money on a move like today. But just something to think about for you there. I'm not suggesting that everybody start going and trading options. I didn't really mean to get off on that, but there are some great opportunities when the market sells off. We don't care as day traders. We don't care which way the market's going as long as it's moving. That's all we need. And I had this conversation the other day with another trader. I don't go around really um, talking a great deal about a trader. I hate for people to know I'm a trader because I don't even like to get in those conversations. But there are some people that know I'm a trader, and I'll see them on a day when the market sold off really big, and they'll say, "Guess you lost a lot of money today, didn't you?" And I just smile and say, "Yeah, uh-huh." And if the market, if they hear the Dow was up, and they don't know anything about the S&P, they just hear about the Dow. The public follows the Dow, and they'll hear the Dow was up 500 points today, and they say, "Oh, I guess you made a killing today." And I just, rather than try to explain it to them, I just go along with them. So it is interesting. But anyway, enough about that. We got plenty of trades here, and I don't want to waste a lot of time because I'd like to go through all of them. And I'll probably go through these pretty quickly. But you can see this early channel. It's very clear, real easy to follow. I'm going to back out a little more so it's easier to see. But there was a failed second entry short really right here at the right at 7 o'clock at 7 o'clock today. Notice you got a new low, first entry, second entry, right off that trend line confirms it. It is at the high of the day, but with it being off that key entry point, a failed second entry short. There are a couple of dojis in there too, so that's something to think about. I went back and forth about whether or not I should make this one green, but I like this trade. It's a little bit of a breakout pullback, like a breakout pullback retest of this high right across here. I don't have my trend line or my support line or resistance line across there. There it is right there. And you can see that's a perfect pullback. We tested it twice. I like that, and off it goes. And if you caught that one trade, you get a runner right there. And just that one trade, if you just rode it to the other side of the channel, I mean, you're looking at 64 to maybe 71, 72 there. So, you know, that's 6 to 8 points right out of the gate early today. And then, of course, we just go sideways. And really what you got to assume is happening here is we're probably trying to come back to the other side. First, it looks we're going to bounce at the midline. Actually, we do bounce at the midline, but you get 2 legs up, and then you come back again, and it bounces off the main trend line. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Uh, we did just come off the top, and we had this channel coming up, and we get the close outside, a couple legs up, we make a high and a lower high, and that's a failed second entry long, and we're still a good bit away from the EMA, so you may risk that one back to the EMA. I think that's worth risking back to the midline, and we may go all the way back to the other side, and you might catch a runner there. Although with it kind of going sideways there, I don't know if I would hold on to a runner. That would be optional, but I think that was worth taking that short just to see if maybe this was going to be the end of the rally, and things were going to, you know, after they open, because lately we've rallied in the overnight and then went sideways and sold off, or we've sold off during the overnight and then rallied during the day. So you do have to understand that with the market closing right here yesterday and opening here at 8:30, that leaves a gap on the daily chart. And a lot of times prices are going to come back. So you may try to catch a short up here. As you see, once we bounce off this main trend line again, I kind of gave up on the shorts for the rest of the day, because at that point, you know, we're going higher and we're going to make yet another leg up at least. So, but early on, you might try to catch this short, thinking that, you know, looking for it to reverse at the open. Quick, easy scalp, nothing more. And then we get a little failed break lower here out of that, and it bounces right off the EMA. This is really your signal bar right here, but this is giving you a chance to get long on a bullish bar at the bottom of the range. Your stop would need to go below this bar right here, so another tick or two back. And where does it go? Right back to the top. You get another chance here at a possible short, but it's right into the EMA. Now it's right at the midline. I'd skip that one. And notice there's a new low, first entry, second entry. So you got a failed second entry short right there, another bullish bar. It's kind of like a repeat of that one right there, that little move down. I like that one. And then we get this big move down here. This one is really tempting, but it's still into that EMA, and we're still making higher highs and higher lows again. So I don't think you want to risk a short until there's a lower high. There is a lower high here, but we're back into the range again. This one was actually kind of tempting here, but it had already broken higher, and so you're going long 2-bar. Really 2 bars too late right there. Probably, I think you got enough there, just enough for it to work, but I'd skip that, especially with that trend line working down. You got enough move there to get a little trend. It's pretty steep, so I'd sit tight on that one. You actually get a second entry long here, but look how that bar is more bearish than anything. You get another bounce off of it here. Again, a very bearish bar. And we're still making lower highs and lower lows at this point. So lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, still a lower low. So I would wait on a higher low at this point, which doesn't come till here. Fairly bullish. Still got probably enough room to get out there. I like going long, and what do you know, this one just takes off like a rocket. And this was as good as this trade over here. Same thing really, except this one's off the main key entry point. So so you can ride that one, and I'd ride it till it probably went sideways there if you got a runner going. We got another bounce at the midline, but we didn't quite get to the high here, so there's a good chance we're going to get an equal move here, or maybe break off this side an equal move. And that's kind of what happened. That's a signal that, hey, we may be running out of steam when we got through the EMA or the midline before we got all the way to the top. You're probably going to get a break now. There's a good chance of that. So I don't see anything across here I like, except a possible long right here. that's a possibility. It is a second entry long. It is a really bullish bar. It is right at the low. So that one's a possibility. But having come up short and not being back to the trend line on this side, I'm not crazy about that one. But I'll mark it. It should probably at least be green. And then we come down first entry. We pull back second entry. So you get a second entry long, a little bit away from the EMA there. It's the first break of the trend line, and it's a real small bar, very low risk. So that was a quick, easy scalp, nothing more. And you see it went lower again. So you got to be careful with those. You really do. But notice the new low, then a first entry short, second entry short, and a bullish bar right back at the trend line at the low of the range. That's going to probably at least shoot up to a new high. I like that one. And off it goes. And it's somewhat of a repeat pattern of what the other two we talked about earlier. And it goes up, then it pulls back again and gives you a little breakout pullback. And this is technically a failed second entry short too, because this is really a double bottom right here. When it broke lower, it just made kind of a little double bottom. So you could look at that like a first entry short, second entry short, and it's a breakout pullback long as well from these highs. And if you get it up here off those closes, you can see it's a perfect pullback, and off it goes. There's actually a lower high right here, but by that time you've got too many bars stacked up. I'm not as crazy about it. Even here, it's not a great entry, but it's not a bad entry. You know, it fits our rules, so I'll give it an aggressive entry. And of course, we're moving up. We come back, we make a new low here. Notice that this swing low is lower than this one or this one. So you got a new low, and you get a first entry. You get a second entry, it bounces right off it goes lower and bounces right off the EMA and heads up. I like going long when it breaks out the other side. I don't know if I'd go long way up here, but I definitely like it right there. And off it goes. There's actually a new swing low there compared to that one. So first entry short, second entry short. So when it broke higher, actually it should be that bar right there. When it broke higher, that's a failed second entry short, so you may take that one. I'm not as crazy about that one because we just came off the high, but when it tries to go lower yet again and makes a higher low and a big bullish bar, I like jumping in then. And if you're already in here, I wouldn't have a problem probably adding on there, because and this is also a second entry long counting off the high. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And it broke higher right there. And you may have had a little trouble getting in that one though. It did come back and would have filled you here. I don't know if I would have waited on that, but it still goes higher. So you would have gotten out either way. You could have gotten in and out either way. And of course we pull back first entry, pull back another second entry. This is another inside bar, so you can go long right there, but your stop still has to go below the red bar, the low of the swing. And that's why I marked that one green, because it's not a perfect setup. We work higher, and this is really a double top up here. So first entry, second entry, and that confirms this trend line off those two swings. Fairly bullish bar, fairly small bar. So for a day that's had some bigger signal bars, that was a chance to get a fairly decent one. And of course you can see this one again. We got a new low. It's the first entry. It's the second entry, but again, it's not at the key entry point. But it comes back here and makes a little lower low, and then technically it's two attempts to go lower. It bounces right off the EMA. It bounces right off that trend line. I drew those trend lines off those first few bars right there, and that bounces right off of it. So that's why I like that one. And technically it's a second entry long, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So second entry long off the EMA, off a shorter term trend line. And notice how we shot over way up here so early. that gives you a good indication that this is probably just a midline here. So if we ever get through there, you might get a good run. And of course, this is where we get through and make that nice run. There's actually another, notice you got a new low here again, first entry, and it doesn't really break lower there, but that's close enough that you could treat that like a failed second entry short if you wanted. I didn't mark it either way. Because we just came off the high of this shorter term. You can see this trend line and the trend channel here. So we just came off the high, so the odds are we're probably going back to the low. Of course, it takes off because it's a strong trend day, but you can't be guessing that's what's going to happen. Then we get a correction here. We get a close outside and a move to a new low. It's kind of tricky and not real obvious there, and takes off. So it's a first entry, but being right there at the EMA and the midline, and being the first break of this short-term channel, you may want to take that one too. And it actually broke lower here and turned back up, so it probably trapped some people. Off it goes. And then, but notice we made a new low there, then a first entry and a second entry. So when prices broke above this little 2-bar matching high, that's a failed second entry short, but it's also a new high first entry. So it's also a second entry long as well. It's a failed second entry short and a second entry long at the EMA, at the midline. I like that one. Pushes up, comes off the high again. And it finally breaks through this time. No shorts here. I wouldn't be taking any shorts this late in the day on a trend this strong. We already talked about that. No shorts after a certain period there. And what does it do when it gets down to the key entry point? You finally get a solid close outside this new channel, and it just takes off again. You can see, and this thing just keeps going the rest of the day. So really nice day. Lots of trades in there, mostly all longs. There's one short here early when I talked about maybe trying to catch that reversal at the open, but it didn't happen today. It just kept going higher. That's why you don't see any more shorts, because it was obvious uptrend the rest of the day. And there's probably a couple others in there you could argue for if they were a little different on your chart, a little better signal bar here or there. So there's just so many trade opportunities. It could go a couple different ways on some of these other trades here, depending on what your chart looked like. So if I didn't mark one that you liked, it doesn't mean that it probably wasn't a good setup necessarily. It just wasn't as good a setup maybe on my chart. So anyway, nice day. I'm not going to beat around the bush and carry this on. I wish I wish it was like this every day. I mean, really, anytime you bought on any kind of pullback, especially later in the day when it was obvious it was a strong trend, if it pulled back to a key entry point or the EMA, it was just about a buy. So it's hard to go wrong on these if you just wait for it to come back to the key entry points. I mean, even here when we were getting breaks, once it came back to the key entry point, as soon as you got an entry, take it and you're good to go. So hopefully the volatility will continue. This is relatively volatile today too. Thank goodness it wasn't one of these up, down, up, down, up, down, because that makes it harder for some people. Once people can recognize it's a strong trend, for the average person, it probably makes it easier for them to trust buying it and just keep buying all the way up, following the rules. But when it's up real hard and then down real hard and up real hard, that's when it really chops people up and throws them off. And if you're not good at reading the chart, what'll happen is you'll be trying to buy all along here and you're getting stopped out, and then all of a sudden it'll rocket off and you'll say, okay, I'm buying, next opportunity. You buy right here and it takes off back down again. And then you finally say, okay, I'm going to sell, and you sell down here and then it rockets off again. And that's just because you don't understand how price action works. Once you understand that this is where you buy and up at the highs is where you sell, it starts to become a little bit easier. But it takes price action really defies common sense. That's why so many people struggle with it, because you come in here and you use your common sense to trade and you're all wrong. And you just have to understand price action. if you understand price action and the common sense of price action instead of common sense in your head or your brain, you'll be a whole lot better off. And that probably sounds foreign to many of you, but as you start to understand price action, you'll get what I'm telling you there. A lot of what I'll say won't make sense until you start to get it. So just keep that in mind. Keep working at it. The real key is to sim trade all day long, and then now is where the real hard work begins. You don't just close your chart and go home at the end of the day because you're through sim trading. You start studying every trade up through here, and you study where all the big moves come from. You try to find the trend lines and figure out what you could have seen earlier to find these trend lines if you didn't see them. That's where all the hard work comes in. You spend another hour or two studying your chart at the end of the day, especially on a day like this. It'd take you an hour at least, maybe two if you're new at this, to study this chart to get your day's study time in. That's hard for people to do. And, I tell people when I first started, I'd be up till 10 or 11 o'clock every night. I'd study from 7, 8 o'clock till I went to bed every night, studying my charts. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I was studying them all day long. And so that's what makes the difference, though. That's what makes you better. Coming in here and sim trading and closing up and going home is not helping you a whole lot. It's not helping you much at all. You have to learn your tendencies. You have to learn the mistakes you make and how to correct them and work on that and try to get better at that. So anyway, that's enough for today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.